Okay, guys, this is it. This is the creme de la creme. This is where everything all comes together. This is the big important video. It's all about focus optimization. Everything we've done so far leads up to this thing right here. So, look, what we've done so far is we've optimized our body and we've optimized our time. So when we optimize our body, this gives us the ability to finally do good work, to be creative, to focus on what we're doing, to think clearly. This gives us the ability to do good work. Then when we go and optimize our time, this allows us to invest as many effective work units into what's important to us. But none of this matters if we do not have focus. But once we have focus, man, we're going to be able to get such a huge return from the amount of work units we're able to apply. This is where it all comes from. Now, focus is also going to tie in to how well we think, how clearly we think, how intelligent we are in our niche, how good we are at anything we do. But we first had to achieve body and time mastery before that. So, look, your focus is just this. It's your brain power. Taking and focusing on things, it's hard. It's hard. Like, seriously, I challenge you to watch this video start to finish without checking social media, without checking anything else. It's hard. It's hard. It is your power over your brain to do one thing. And really, if you look at all the devices we carry around, all the things, how most people operate these days, we are focus bankrupted. Okay? And every person who absolutely kills it, it's their superpower. For example, John D. Rockefeller, his superpower, just intense focus. Every super successful person I've ever met, it's intense focus is why they're successful. And like I spoke about before, most people, most entrepreneurs, they're focus bankrupt. And this means we have really weak brain power. We're not able to get much done. And the reason why we can't get much done when we're working is there's two places where focus comes into. The first is just how well you're going to be able to get work done. And then the other one is how effective that work is going to be. All right, and how to get the most effect out of that work. But first off, you need to understand this. There's two types of thinking that you have. There's type 1 and type 2 thinking. So type 1, whenever you're thinking, you have two states. So when you start working on a project, you start in type 1. All right, so this is where you're really overthinking. You're trying to figure out what you're doing. You're trying to lay out basically the tracks of the pattern you're going to follow. All the brain is it sits around and calculates what it's going to do and the pattern it's going to operate around and what you're going to be thinking about and all the basically tools you're going to be using, and then it goes in a straight line. Now, what the straight line is type 2. Whenever you're interrupted in your work, whenever you switch tasks, whenever you're multitasking, you keep staying in type 1, and type 1 is not very effective. It's like you're constantly loading up a computer, constantly building the installation kit that you're going to be running off of. That's why it's so important that when you're working, you must always try to stay in type 2 and spend as little time in type 1. And so what happens when your phone is constantly interrupting you, you're constantly switching tasks, most people spend their entire day in type 1, and this isn't effective work. When you're in type 2, you already have the toolkits, and this is when the processor that's been established, which is essentially the pattern your brain's going to work in. This is what I'm working on. This is the problem at hand. These are the things I'm looking at. These are the things I'm going to be dealing with right now. They're all established, so you don't have to set those up anymore, and you can just go and grind out the work. This allows you to achieve things like writing a webinar super quickly, like building a super refined funnel super quickly, to go in and really dig into a funnel and find every little tiny thing you can optimize around it. If you're in type 1, you're constantly trying to figure out what the funnel's doing in the first place. Does that make sense? So, switching task and being distracted leads to you staying in type 1, which results in very poor focus, which leads to very poor and slow work. And if you're doing poor and slow work, it doesn't matter if you work 10 hours a day. It's not going to be great work. I can get more done in 3 hours than a person that works 10 hours if they are in that state. Again, it's not because I'm a superior human being. It's because if I'm doing 10 hours of focused work and they're doing 10 hours of switching around, loosey-goosey, checking their cell phone work, my work's just going to be better. And so what you need to understand is that focus takes discipline. Focus is hard. That being said, discipline leads to higher focus, thus higher IQ work and more creativity. And so if you can achieve discipline with your focus and be able to sacrifice things, and be able to get the things out of your life that are taken away from your focus, you're going to have a higher IQ. Now, what do I mean by higher IQ? IQ is in one way, just a way to describe how the load a person's mind can handle. So if you go and take an IQ test, there's going to be lots of memory challenges and how much working load your memory can work with. But that's not really what I consider to be a higher IQ. High IQ is when you're able to look at something, you're really able to see the entire picture and work on it very clearly. And to do that, you have to have focus. You don't have to have the highest IQ in the world, but you have to have an insanely good working IQ. And that's something you can play with and move up and down. And so working IQ is how well you're able to focus on something. If you look at studies on people that are successful, the number one denominator is always the ability to focus on something and work on something for a long time without switching. Okay, if you can sit a person in the room, I guarantee you the person that's not checking their phone and is able to focus on what's in front of them is going to get better results in life than the other people. And because the reason why they're able to do it is because their focus is only in one place. So their mind's just in type 2, it sees the entire picture, it sees it very clearly. And when you do that, you're much more creative. You also are able to make much better decisions because your brain isn't constantly trying to figure out the terrain of the decisions that you're working in. This is why. You will be functionally smarter than other people that have not mastered this, and it all comes back to discipline. And so what we're trying to do right here is when we're working, if we can go and spend this time in a state of number 2 thinking, and we're only working on one thing this entire time, or one or two things, or really segmenting this out so that, let's say we spend 4 hours on just this one thing and only this one thing, our time ROI is going to be insane. And because we've maximized the amount of time investment we can put into it, and now it's being multiplied by focus, this is how we crush people. This is how we absolutely grind people into dust who try to go and compete with our funnels and our ads. Okay, this is why when I see people running like 8 different funnels and 16 different ads and have 10 different products and are like also keeping up like a lifestyle and partying all the time, and I see them like on Instagram and social media and Facebook and also posting YouTube videos all the time. This is why like I just, they don't stand a chance. They just don't stand even a fraction of a chance against how I'm operating. And I'll explain that here in a second. So you need to understand that focus comes with a steep cost and a steep pain when you first start doing it. What you need to understand is that I'll get into this in the How Creativity Works video. But the first thing you must understand is that if something does not contribute to your goal or is not more important than your goal, it must be removed. The first thing is removing everything stupid from your life, because the less stuff that's in your head, the better the stuff in there will be. It's just that by default. If your brain is segmented into 12 different things going on right now, and you just cut out 11 of them, that one thing that's left to be focused on is going to be so damn well thought about, so much effort will be put into it, so much focus will be put into it, that even if you're not the smartest cookie in the shop, that one thing is going to dominate anybody else trying to do that one thing, but working on 12 other things at the same time. It just will. But that's very painful to do. And you have to understand, you don't really want or need most of the things that you use or fall into consistently. Most people are addicted to instant gratification. That's just how our brain, you have to understand, is going to default to the quickest way to get dopamine. So when I talk about creativity and the quickest way to get dopamine here in a little bit, I'll post a video in here that really ties into that. I explained it perfectly and how video games have basically tapped into this. But you have to understand, your phone, for example, gives you a better dopamine hit than your business ever will. Dopamine is the chemical that your body releases when it believes something satisfactory is happening. It wants you to do more of that. Dopamine is a very poor indicator of what's going to get you results and fulfillment in your life. But the thing is, when you check your phone, you go through and you play the roulette of what's going on in social media. There's this randomness, and then you find something that you're interested in that releases dopamine very quickly with no effort. So this is why you're constantly feeling the need to go into your pocket and check your phone. It's because that will give you a dopamine release. And so when you have the ability to trigger dopamine in your body with such little effort or work, what's going to happen is you're going to get addicted to that. And then that's going to destroy your ability to focus on anything long-term, because your body doesn't see focusing on anything long-term as a way to get dopamine. If you think about how hunters or the first early humans, or actually humans, let's say, as soon as 200 years ago, had to get dopamine, it all required lots of work. To go and get dopamine releases, the number one way to trigger dopamine is through recognition or being recognized in your community, all right? So because that increases your chance to mate. That's what the brain is designed to do. or to do something that is related to survival. So when you eat like a high caloric, sweet tasting meal, a lot of dopamine is released because that increases your survival, tons of calories. When you achieve something and people recognize you and you've achieved a goal, that increases your social standing. Okay, it increases your social value. And so dopamine is released then. But then think about what humans had to do 200 years ago to achieve either of those things. To get really good nutrition, to get anything that was really survival, you had to go hunt a boar. To get social standing recognition, you had to go hunt a boar. So you had to go climb through the woods, cover yourself in mud, and chase down an animal that's much stronger than you and kill it with a spear to feel good. Now you can check your phone. Do you see why when people are starting a business or trying to do anything hard now, it's so hard for them? Because they can get a much better dopamine release by loading up World of Warcraft or checking their phone. That's the problem here. You have to understand that all these things that give you instant gratification in your life, like you can get the same amount of social drama and chemical releases watching a really good reality TV show. That's why reality TV is so addicting, because then you can just replace your social needs with reality TV. That's the problem with it. So you have to understand that these things don't actually make you happy. Checking your phone, drugs, playing video games, reality TV, there's a whole bunch of other things out there. They don't actually make you happy. They just release chemicals that tell you you're doing the right thing. If you go and look at a person that's watched reality TV for a year straight and a person that's worked on a business and learned another language and built a substantial company that's doing amazing things and making a ton of money, the second person's going to have the life happiness. He's going to be the fulfilled person. The person that spent the last year playing World of Warcraft and watching a reality TV show is going to hate themselves, but they can't stop because the dopamine is telling them where to go. So the most important thing you have to understand is that instant gratification and dopamine are extremely poor indicators of what's going to actually make you happy in your life. And so you have to sacrifice these things and you have to get them out of your life, because they're not going to, or you have to understand, if you're not going to get rid of these things in your life, they're just going to take away from your goal. And it's going to take away from your fulfillment and long-term happiness and the results you're going to get from this program as well. That's what you must understand. And then also you have these little things, and not only do they give you those instant gratification dopamine hits, they interrupt you and stop you from getting into deep work. And then if you also are working on 10 different things, if your life is not compartmentalized to one thing at a time, you're also not going to get much done on that work. So what you need to do in your life right now is you need to get rid of the big obvious pains. If you have stupid friends, gossip, if you're partying and drinking, it must go. It must go. Okay, there's nothing that's going to ruin your focus in your life more than that. TV, social media, video games, instant gratification hooks must go. Because your brain is going to spend time working on these things in the background instead of your business. And I'll talk about that here in a second. If you're spending excessive family time, if your family always has access to, your friends always have access to at all times through your phone, it must go. It must go. You don't need to spend 10 hours with your family every single day, okay? And if you care about your business and your success and beating other entrepreneurs, you can't be spending your time focusing on all this dumb shit right here. Now, here's the other thing you need to understand. Multiple businesses and projects must stop. Must stop. Right now, in my life right now, what I'm working on mostly is the Iron programs and then Hyros, and they both tie in together, and I'll explain how those businesses work. Those are the only two things I'm working on right now, okay? 90% of my time, 95% of my time goes to those things. And if it detracts from your focus on your goals, just remove it. If you keep it, you will lose your goals. You must understand the things you refuse to sacrifice will make the things that are important to you become the sacrifice. And the negative social influences must go. Okay, for example, if you're hooked in like a socialite scene, you're hooked on going out there and being involved in gossip or shitting on other people, like, it has to go. You can't have this stuff. You can't have people that are constantly making you mad or upset. Like, I used to have all these friends, or I used to have family members that just bug the hell out of me. You know what? I just got rid of all of them. Just cut. And I want to explain this a little bit more. I'm sure you've either dated or you've known people in your life that are just constantly introducing problems into your life. They constantly are dragging problems from in the world. They're like, here's some crap, let's bring it into my life. And then everybody, like, here's you, and then here's you. Then they just bring people in their circle of destruction and drama. This could be your family members. This could be your girlfriend. This could be your boyfriend. Like, this is the number one most destructive thing that will mess up your everything, because these people drag problems in your life that you didn't have to focus on, that have nothing to do with your results, nothing to do with what's important to you in life. And so the number one thing you can do is take a bazooka and just blow this out of your life. Just, no, cut, gone, never talk to ever again. Don't apologize. This person's going to freak out and they're going to be like, no, 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 come back to my addictive, horrible life with me and sink in my misery. You need to recognize this and get these people out of your life. Everybody has them if you don't actively go after this. These people just will come in, cling into your life, and try and just mess up everything. If they're always crying, they always have a problem, they always are upset about something, they're not happy all the time, they're going to drag you into it as well. End result is you're dragged into their stuff and you're not focused on your funnels or ads or your product. I can't think of a worse way to lose your time and your focus with no return than people like this. Now I'm like happy all the time and then focusing on my business. And what you need to understand is if you took the time management stuff to heart, a lot of these will already be locked out. I mean, if you're investing units of time in the social media, video games, and TV, it's pretty clear why a person is going to beat you. But there's more to it than this, because if your mind is only focused on one thing, it allows you to get into very deep work on that thing. And the not so obvious killers that you have around you is you need to understand, what does your desktop and phone look like? For example, if you look at my computer, that's what it looks like. There's nothing going on there. If you look at my phone, it's a black screen with a call button. It really tells you where your mind's operating at. I look at some people's phones and there's a zillion different apps on there, all buzzing at all times, notifying them stuff. Why the fuck do you need to know if someone sent you a message on Instagram? How is that and then people stop working to check the message they got on Instagram. And then they got like 200 likes. And so then they go and check their latest Facebook posts. And then like, oh man, I wonder if I need to check my Slack channel. Holy crap. Holy cow. And that's why you see like entrepreneurs on their phone checking their numbers, checking Slack, checking Facebook Messenger, checking Instagram, and then doing a rotation of that. What do the drawers in your office look like? I go through your drawers. Like, is it a mess? What does your desk actually look like? There's two things on my desk right now, a coffee and a book with my task for stuff that I'm going to work on today. And there's also control for my AC unit. That's it. Because if I have all these other things going on, I'm going to be distracted by them. There's a study that shows that if someone puts a phone on let's imagine you're at brunch with somebody and someone just puts their phone out. Even if it's not your phone, a large amount of your attention is going to go towards that phone because it's such a dopamine release. Your brain sees it, and it's like putting cocaine on a table for a crack addict. You can't control it. And look, organization and removing things out of everywhere that you're working in your life, it's not just to feel better. It releases your mental hard drive. If your desk is cluttered with stuff, if you have 10 different things going on your phone, your desktop looks like a maniac designed it, I mean, you're just not going to be able to really focus, and your mental hard drive is going to be spent trying to understand what's going on right there. You can see my computer right now as I'm working. You can see I only have Photoshop, Camtasia, and Keynote open, and then my drawing board in Google Chrome. A lot of people have like 70 different things open right here. And when you're working with those 7 different things, your mental hard drive has to deal with those things. It's just like a computer. And so clean up everything. It destroys your IQ when your brain is trying to work on 10 different things. Look, if you have a billion different things going on in your mind right now, you're not going to be as smart because your IQ is split a billion different ways. Every time you're also interrupted, you lose your best self. You're knocked out of that flow state. So that's why like a phone or having notifications on your computer is insane. You've been looking at my computer this entire time. Have you seen a single notification? Okay, look, you have to look at it like this. Every time you're distracted, you lose 30 IQ points for 15 minutes. That's true. You get knocked back to state 1. The reason why I can shoot this video without stopping and I can have a pretty clear train of thought is because nothing else is going on. Man, if I checked the Facebook Messenger notification right now, I'd be out of it for 15 minutes at least because I had to go and shift back to state 1 to understand that message, comprehend it, and then respond. And then I have to come back here, be in state 1 again, and it take me about 15 minutes to shift into completely clear shooting videos and only videos mode. So you've got to remove all those distractions you're working. You must avoid the distraction gauntlet at all costs. Look, your phone. You notice most entrepreneurs, this is what they're going to do. And you look at anybody in the room, look at people that aren't entrepreneurs. Like we think we're disciplined. You look at other people, like normal people, it's pretty clear why most people have trouble with money. Go find a normal person. They're going through what is called the distraction gauntlet. They get on their phone, they check Instagram, then they check Facebook, then they check Facebook Messenger, then they check YouTube, and then they're going to go scroll through YouTube, and then they're going to check maybe their email, and then if they're an entrepreneur, they're going to check their daily sales numbers, and then they're going to do that over and over and over again because the dopamine release is just nonstop. It's going and going and going. It's like you're on just a never-ending hit of drugs, and that's how they're designed to work. Same thing with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and email. It literally designs your brain to work like that. It's not because you have weak willpower and can't focus. It's because your brain is literally being redesigned by Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You must understand what your brain tries to do as a system is it tries to learn about how your world works and create a pattern of behavior around that. That's how it works. And so when your brain notices that you get tons of dopamine through this repetitive pattern, it doesn't interpret that as, hey, look at all these tasks it's doing. It's not really contributing to my life. It looks at the dopamine because your brain doesn't understand, your subconscious doesn't understand the real world around you. All it can look at is the signals coming in your computer, which is, for a human, is dopamine and pain. So if something's painful, it's going to look at what's happening in the world and it's going to say, don't repeat that. If lots of dopamine is coming in, it's going to look at the behavior and say, repeat that over and over and over and over again. We need more dopamine. It's a yes and no situation. And so when you have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you have all these things constantly scrolling by and then giving you the social recognition and all the signs that release dopamine in your body, the social interaction, the social recognition you get from likes, the dopamine release when you check your sales numbers, the dopamine release when you get a lot of likes on Facebook. What happens is your brain goes, do that over and over again and fuck everything else. That's what's going to happen right there to you. That's the pattern your brain adopts. That's what it recognizes. So what you need to make sure, man, you should not even have these right here. Your business, you don't really need to have a Facebook, Instagram, YouTube account. I mean, honestly, like I grew my business, my ad business, and it wasn't based on my YouTube channel. I just all cold traffic. I didn't need Instagram. I didn't need YouTube. I didn't even need Facebook. No one on my Facebook buys the e-commerce info product that we're going to reference in this course. Nobody on my Facebook does that. Nobody buys it on there. I could turn off all these. It wouldn't matter. And I don't have to check these. But what you really want to do, because I know a lot of you guys use social media maybe for talking to clients and stuff like that. For example, at Hyros, we communicate through Facebook Messenger because I know people aren't going to turn off their phones. Like, that's the best way to contact them. But you need to limit your social media to 30 minutes a day and then just don't use it. For example, when I'm checking your guys' questions in a group, that's going to be at 3 p.m. I log in and I can just go through the questions group and hop off. I don't want my brain to be reprogrammed. So also your staff should never have ability to interrupt you, okay? If there's an emergency, they'll be able to contact you. For example, my COO has access. He knows where I live. He can come knock on my door if there's something crazy going on. But there's been nothing in 10 years of my business that would require me, that would have ruined my business if I hadn't been able to get to it in 4 hours. Okay? And if it's a super emergency, like all of our servers explode, my CEO will just come knock on my door. No one should be able to interrupt you because that stops you from doing your best work. Your sales numbers, check them once or twice a day. Have your staff watch for emergencies, okay? You don't need to be checking things 10 times a day. And then you have to understand you should have a none shall pass mindset when it comes to your work. From, let's say your work hours are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., you're dead, not around, don't talk to you. For example, like I have friends, my girlfriend knows like, hey, look, especially in the morning, do not talk to me. Like I will actively get very upset. And it's not because I'm a dick. It's because like I've explained it, babe, this time is so important to me. I must stay focused on the time. In order to work on the things that are so important to me in my life, I need to have this time. In order to be able to spend the most effective time with you, I got to get this stuff done. If you don't want me on my phone, you don't want me thinking about business when we're together, I need to have this time for me. So look, if there's a bill not coming through, you want to talk about, a date we're going to go on, do it when I'm not working. I love you more than anything, and in order for me to spend this time with you in the highest quality way as possible, I need to have my alone time right now. So don't talk to me. Don't talk to me at all. And if someone messages you on these time, it's a cardinal sin. Because I need to stay in state 2 to get as much work done so that when I do have that time with the people that I care about, that time is spent super effectively and I've gotten everything that's on my plate done. Okay, so what you want to do is there's a few different exercises you can do for this. I don't do this anymore because I just have it. I do this by instinct now. But what you want to do is when you start off your week, isolate your four or five big goals. And then what you want to do is you want to write out all the things that go into those goals. And then what I'll do is when I'm planning my day, I'll take all the sub goals of those big goals and then work towards one big goal at a time. And I have the big goals ordered by importance. So this week, the most important thing is filming iron videos. That's just a big old number 1. And so what I do all day long right now, I get up and I just film videos all day long. And the reason why I'm able to make the videos good and long and put the time into it is because of everything I've talked about right here. This is why this program is so much better than other programs. And if you think I'm detailed on this stuff, wait till we get into the business stuff. That's why my business stuff is going to be so much better, because I don't have anything else to work on right now. No one's interrupting me. It's you, me, and this computer, and we're just chatting. But what you want to do is you want to write your entire day planned by the minute if you want. And this is only something you should sustain for a little bit. All right, I don't do this because it drains all the fun out of everything. But I have it planned by the hour, and don't break it at all cost. At least when you're first starting this. Like for right now, I can shift my day around. But when you're first starting, what you usually do is you don't have any plan for the day. You don't have any layer of focus, and you're always shifting around, and you don't get any of your goals really done. And so, like, here's the perfect example of this: December 4th. Everything is lined up by order of importance and what I'm going to work on during these time frames. And what you need to notice is that when you first start doing this, you're actually going to be really bad at planning your day. You're actually probably going to add way too much. But as you start doing this more and more, you're going to get really good at planning your day out. And then you're going to get really good at estimating how long it takes you to actually do things. And so if you overestimate, what you can figure out is, okay, I need to subtract things. I need to plan better. And then if you underestimate, you can think, okay, what else can I add? And so then you get really good at planning your workflows for the days, and you become really efficient throughout the day. And so you're able to go through the entire process and make sure you get everything done. And this is how you become really effective. Because I don't have to think about anything. I can get straight into phase 2 and just all the way down this. And that's how I can get so much done. All right? Now, dealing with criticism. When you start behaving in the way I tell you right here, people are going to start thinking you're a freak. When you don't have a cell phone, like I don't have a cell phone. And for the longest time, like when a cell phone was frustrating me, there's one more, I just woke up and smashed it. Now, I do have a cell phone now, but it's never charged, and it's in a drawer upstairs, and I'm going to use it for like Uber and Venmo payments. That's what I'll use it for. And I don't have it. If you look at my screen, it's a black screen. There's no apps on it. No one can notify me on it. It has no notifications. I don't use it. I don't use alarms on my phone. I have a wristwatch for that. I don't use it for time. Like, I don't have that. And that it drives some people nuts. That's fine. I don't care if it drives them nuts, because the goal of my life is not their satisfaction with being able to contact me at a moment's notice. Okay? Same thing with your family and everything. Like, you have to understand, I think a lot of people spend too much time with their families, but maybe that's the most important thing to you. But you have to understand, you have to explain to your family, like, look to your wife, look to your kids. Dad, me, I want to be able to achieve the things in my life, and so that when I spend time with you, I'm as there as possible. I am completely there. There's nothing else I'm working on. And to do that, when I do things in my life, I must isolate them. So when I'm with you, I'm isolated to you. I'm not checking my phone. I'm not checking my numbers. I'm not thinking about my ads the next day. I'm just with you. And that's how we're going to get the most effective time. And over the span of our life, this is how we're going to have the best, most memorable experience together. What you see most people do is they work in this weird zombie way where they're combining everything all at the same time. So when they're with their family, they're also on Facebook Messenger, and they're also working on their business. They're also checking their email. And the result is the business time is shitty because they're always interrupted by their family, and then the time with their family is shitty. And so you just have this big slog of this. It's like a soup with like 50 different ingredients that don't go together. When you're with your family, be with your family. When you're with work, be with your work. And explain to people I don't care if you don't like that. That is the most efficient way to work. You must also understand that society in general is mostly wrong about everything. Okay? And unless you were born in the Gates family or in a community of aware, very educated people that have gone and spent their entire life trying to figure out how life really works, most of the things people tell you aren't true. For example, people used to think bread was the most healthy thing you could eat and it should have been in your core for energy for years. And then we're putting sugar in everything. The result is everybody has cancer and all sorts of bad stuff. I'm not getting into health stuff like that. I'm just going to tell you, like, there was a time period where doctors said smoking was healthy. Okay? Most things people tell you are going to be wrong. Most things people think in their views of the world are going to be wrong. So when you behave like this and you won't let people access you, you won't let people interrupt you, they're going to get mad, and that's just too bad. And if you stop being friends with people because they distract you from your work, that's fine, okay? They're going to be mad at you. People aren't going to like you. Okay? If your significant other is mad, that's completely fine. It's all right if people are mad. If a person's going to dump you because you want to focus and be better at your life, you probably shouldn't be there in the first place. If they require you to sacrifice the things that are important to you in life to be with them when they don't need to be sacrificed. Okay, so let's imagine you want to play video games for 24 hours a day and you won't sacrifice that to hang out with your girlfriend. Then you probably deserve to be dumped. But when your girlfriend sees and demands that the 12 hours of a day when you're putting to your work and the things that are important to you also be dedicated to her, and the time that you also spend at nighttime be dedicated to her, and everything be dedicated to them. You probably have some person that doesn't really care about what you need in life. So you should probably, I'm not saying that that's going to be the case with every person you're with, but people might be doing that by accident as well. Some people need to text their spouse 15 times a day. Guess what? It's not going to compute if you want to be a boss, a badass when it comes to business. Because I guarantee you the people you're going to be going against in funnels ads, you're going to run up to someone like me who's like, I don't really need friends, and I don't really need to be checking my phone 10 times a day. I'm just going to work on my business. And so when you come into the arena with me, like, you're going to be checking your phone while I'm punching you in the face. Okay, it's not going to work. Now, I also want to stress as I go through this, I do some really bizarre stuff, and I'm not focused on being balanced in my life. If you want to make $10 million a year, by all means, you can lower your work hours and be less optimized. Okay, it's totally possible to do that. You can reduce your work hours to 5 hours a day if you apply the things I'm talking about, and you can spend the rest of your life doing all the things that are important to you. Okay, it's about what's important to you. Okay, like I said, if you optimize yourself completely and make sure like those first 4 hours a day, your friends, family, no one can talk to you, you could actually spend more time with your friends and family. That's one thing I also want to point out right there. And so also focus carries over into your life. If you're checking your phone at dinner, you're addicted. If you're changing, one thing I want you to notice is if you're ever driving in a car with your friend. I was with my friend the other day. He's driving a car down the road. He had to check his phone twice. He had to change the radio station 2 times. He had to adjust his mirrors 6 or 7 different times. I can tell you why my friend is broke and not successful in life. I love the guy, but I can tell you why he's not killing it. It's because of how he drives his car. Look at that. Like, a guy can't sit down and focus on the road while he's moving at 50 miles per hour because he's so damn addicted to everything. Okay? So you really need to look at all the things you're doing. All right. Look, one thing you also know is go to people's house, and a lot of people that are not able to achieve focus on life, they have so much stuff. They have so much stuff that they don't use. You're going to see this carry over in your life. You're going to see people fighting about politics on social media. Politics literally has nothing to do with you. Your opinion doesn't change anything. Your arguments don't change anything. Your beliefs on anything doesn't change. There's no way your personal beliefs are going to change the social behavior of 300 million people or whatever, how many people are in your country. It's the definition of caring about something that has nothing to do with you. And the reason why people get addicted to politics is because they deeply identify with it, and they get dopamine releases by reinforcing things they deeply identify with. Or they get massive pain because they deeply identify with it. The politics has nothing to do with you or how the country is run. It has everything to do with what you identify as, and that either being promoted or attacked. And you're going to see this everywhere. And if you can just dump all these things right here, you're going to notice, like, man, I don't need this much stuff. I don't need all these things. And I can drive a car down the road without checking my phone or changing the radio station. Now, is this kind of robotic? Yes, but it's the key to maximizing the things that you love in life. If you want a life full of things that you love, you got to do this, because it's going to be full of things you don't love. And you're going to look back at the end of the day, and your entire life is just like that person driving a car. Your business is going to be just like that person driving a car, full of nonsense and not driving the car. Engineer the perfect life, and that's how you're going to engineer the perfect business. And you also have to understand one thing, last thing I want to say, the things you buy become a distraction. The biggest mistake I ever made was buying a big old house, my big dream house, because there's so many things that come with the house and the distractions. Having a supercar, having fancy stuff, it becomes more distracting. It separates you from the things you actually love, which are your friends, family, and your meaningful work. So now we've discussed this. If you can go and optimize your time, you optimize your body and mind, and then you optimize your focus, this is when everything explodes. And you are a tool of mass destruction when it comes to business. No one's going to beat this. You are very rarely going to run into people that do this. And because of that, you're going to beat most people you run into. And that when you run into a person that's like this, they're probably going to be in the 9-figure or making 20, 30 million a year range. Okay? You're really not going to run into this until you really get into the 8-figure a year range. And then usually, and I want to talk about a sustainable 8-figure year. There's plenty of people that make like 10 million a year and then can't sustain that. The people that are sustainably doing it day in and day out, they've done this. And it's okay, because those people are super rare. Okay, they're super rare, and you're going to be able to get your chunk of the pie with them. So the final thing is, you're focused, and anything you focus on will melt. That's just going to be the point, because your time, mind, you're going to be doing epic, creative, awesome work because your body's optimized. Your time is invested only in the things that you love. So you're boom, hitting it hard every single day, over and over and over again. And your focus allows you to crush whatever's right in front of you and that thing just gets melted. So whatever you put your eyes on is going to melt. And the final thing you need to know is what to focus on personally for you. How do you decide what to focus on so that you can go and crush it? Because there's a lot of things that you could focus on, or a lot of aspects of your business where you can work at that are not going to work because you're not designed to work on them. So I want to talk about this last, okay? And that's understanding ourself and what we should be working on.